Starting. The live streams should be going on. So we are live. We're getting started. It looks like people are rolling in. Let's just give people a few minutes while all the IT and everything gets set up. So wow, Roz, got the hat, got the big hair. What's the?
I do. You know what? Giving much respect to Aretha Franklin. Her funeral service is going on right now in Detroit. And it's just beautiful. The people that are there, the sentiment. And so I figure I want to be diva for the day and give you big hat, big hair, and just respect and of her passing and of the life that she's lived and the beautiful things that she did for for this country. So it was just my way of saying, God bless you, Aretha.
Wow. Well, while we're still getting set up and everything like that, and get it all going, thought I'd throw something out there. Did you hear the latest about the BuzzFeed article? That kind of
Which one was that one?
Scoop on this, the Trump administration now is actually what they have a task force or something trying to demonize or come up with information. Did you hear anything about this?
Yeah, I'll give you, this is my own personal opinion. And this has nothing to do with, if it's right, wrong, or indifferent. But I think sometimes when we have, every now and then you'll see little things come up in regards to Attorney General Session will say something regarding legalization. Every now and then when there's some type of buzz going on within our administration, and if they want to deflect, I feel like, the whole cannabis legalization is something that comes up in conversation. It's something that is, it has people running scared sometimes. And I just want you guys to understand, and I'm going to show you something today that talks about the billions of dollars that's going on right now in this industry. But we got to understand that the states' right, the states have the government, President Obama gave the states the right to be able to create constitutional amendments that legalize cannabis in their states based upon the constituents who voted for it. We have states that are making billions and billions of dollars in revenue. And so sometimes I feel like, you get the red herring or you get the thing from the federal level where they start going, saying, hey, we got this task force, or we're going to go and look at locking people up for, if they're cultivating. And I think it's just, sometimes it's just out there just to kind of as a scare tactic. I will tell you now here in Florida that I know for sure that there are some license holders who hold a license in Florida. The value of a license in Florida is anywhere from $60 million to $100 million. And I know that they are contributing to the Republican candidates and to their campaigns. So if you know that you have that revenue that's coming into this state and these people that are owning it, and it's not, these are Republican people that have a partial ownership in some of these licenses, and they're contributing and donating to the Republican Party for, in regards to the elected officials and during the campaign season. I just think, you got to be realistic about what's happening, and we're past the point of return, in my opinion. But that's my opinion, and that's why when I see some of these articles, I read it and I just keep going, because it's so much revenue that's already been generated from a tax-based perspective, as well as just revenue in general in the general economy.
Wow. Now, why would you think they would even do this? I mean, so maybe you didn't catch the buzz. You know what? Let me go pull it up on the screen so everyone can see it. Because this is, I'm not a big person for conspiracy theories, but when I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is crazy.
I'm telling you, it comes out. Remember, it was something that came out, I want to say like 3 months ago, and they were talking about how they were going to have the DEA and have these people go and raid cultivation sites and dispensaries in California. And you know what? It didn't happen. It to me, in my opinion, sometimes it seems like, periodically you'll see like something come up about cannabis legalization and raiding or trying to make us believe that legalization is not going to happen. And I just believe, me personally, that it's just people just raising red flags.
Oh, definitely. So hold on. Do you see my screen okay, Roz?
I do. I see it.
So I saw this pop up in my news feed like yesterday or the day before. I'm like, this is definitely a ROZ question. You know, high level, if we look at this article, and for anyone out there, it's literally, this is BuzzFeed News, so I'm not saying it's 100%, real, but I'd like to think that they're a pretty authoritative news source. It says the White House has secretly amassed a committee of federal agencies from across the government to combat public support for marijuana and cast state legalization measures in a negative light, while attempting to portray the drug as a national threat. And there's actually even a new marijuana policy coordination committee.
Right.
In internal memos, 14 federal agencies, and including the DEA, right? The ones that are all about the war on drugs. Their goal is to look for data demonstrating the most significant negative trends about marijuana and the threats it poses to the country. Now, for people who really want to dig in,
Right. So let's talk about that. So if you look at a negative trend, let's identify the negative trend that the opioid epidemic poses on the country. So they're going to look at either from a medical, a social justice, or criminality standpoint, or economics. Well, the economics of legalization is you can't falter, you can't go and talk against that. You can't put legalization from a cannabis standpoint against opioid addiction and the number of deaths. So you can't talk about that. You could talk about incarceration, and maybe they may try to make a direct correlation with criminality, but that's always going to happen because they feel like the utilization of this plant equals criminal activity. So if you look at this, it's a bunch of fluff. It is so fluffy and it's nothing specific. And how do you go back after you've already allowed states to make determination as if they want to legalize? And how do you go back now and say, well, I'm going to create this task force to understand what type of negative threat this poses on the country? It makes no sense whatsoever, especially if it's not coming from I can see if the state of California, I can see if the state of Colorado or the state of Oregon or the state of Washington that have recreational as well as medical programs, if they were to come out with some type of their own task force to say, hey, what's the state of our state after legalization, and what type of threats or what type of concerns or what type of positives have we seen? I would hold credibility towards that. But this coming from the White House, I just personally, I don't think it's credible, and I think it's just kind of funny, the timing, and especially when you have all these other different things that are happening, and you're trying to throw people off of that and onto something else that the country, by and large, is in support of legalization.
Yeah, well, it's one thing to do this, but this is, I think, even a bigger step. This is kind of gerrymandering, where it's not just, hey, we're going to try to figure out what's going on. This is a directive from the White House saying, let's look for negative news and highlight it and put a spin out there.
Right, exactly. You said it, exactly. Let's look for negative. And if you can't find negative, let's make up negative. So I would say this whole entire feed, and from BuzzFeed, I would watch for follow-ups and see what happens from there. And as you can see, our administration, there's so many other different areas of concerns for the country outside of cannabis legalization that we could have task force. I was just listening today when they're talking about cyber wars and cyber attacks, and how we are so open for that, and it's even worse than nuclear attacks, and how we have to have task force, and how that's not being done currently right now. And I don't want to get into politics, but there's so many other different things that we could use resources and time for. And I just think it's kind of funny how this is coming out now. So I would definitely watch it. But for all these people out here that are on today, and you have questions and you're trying to figure out how to navigate through this, and you're thinking, hey, maybe this isn't an industry that I want to get into, there's no turning back. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry that has already happened, and we only have legalization in 30 states. So that's just my take on it, my personal opinion, because I'm so deep into it. But I'll definitely watch what happens, going forward.
There's a lot of controversy. Obviously, there are people that aren't large fans of Trump's, and and on this forum, we keep our political opinions to ourselves. But
That's
when
right.
you have people, what is this quote? If the If the White House is actually spreading misinformation about marijuana to undercut states' rights, it's appalling. It's like, oh my gosh.
But not out of the ordinary. But not out of the ordinary. So, you still there? You still there? Hello? You still there?
It looks like I came back. I'm sorry. I might have.
Yeah, yay, what happened to you?
No, I'm back. But I think, we got people on. We've got on the lives across, we've got a decent number of people. I think it's time to maybe let's start some CannaTalk with ROZ.
Absolutely.
ROZ, take from here. I know you actually prepared something.
I did, but first and foremost, I want to say good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. Those that are listening to us by way of Facebook and all the different streaming outlets, thank you for taking time. Let me tell you the reason why I do this. My name is ROZ McCarthy, and I am the founder and the CEO of Minorities for Medical Marijuana. I started the organization 2.5 years ago, and so grateful for the connection with Dr. Boyce and the Black Business School and the Jarvis Project of supporting and hosting CannaTalk with ROZ. What makes me, again, I'm someone that this is what I do for a living. I used to work and I used to consult, but when I started the organization, I started diving down deep into what was going on from a social justice perspective, public policy, from an economic development and business perspective, and of course, health and wellness. So the type of questions I want you to think about is, you want to ask about, how do I get my medicine? How do I get into business? I'm interested in investing. How do I know legalization is going to happen? How do I know if for sure that we're not going to still go to jail for this plant? Those are the type of questions, and anything else that you can think of. I want you guys every Friday from 1 o'clock to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, bring those questions. If you see an article, if you see something that you have a concern about, bring it. I'm not the end all be all, but I will give you my most dedicated and most honest, thorough answer as I can. And we can always go back and research and find follow-ups if we need to. So what I'll do is if there isn't any questions right now, I want to welcome the following. We got Daniel and Dina and Doc, Herbert, Ivan, Kiani Libra, Patricia, Sana, Stanley, and Sylvia. And I got some more people coming through here. So welcome, guys. I'm going to flip to my screen right quick, and I want to show you something. If you guys have a question, if you have something that you want to share right now, if you're not on screen and you call in, you can share your question and ask it. There's nothing that's too small, too big. But if you do have a question, if you click on your screen and raise your hand, we'll have you come up and ask the question. So hold on one second. All right. So let me share a couple of things that have been the beautiful part about the Black Cannabis Network and coming into the group. They're asking very specific questions about why are you interested in the group? What are your questions? What do you want to know? What are some of the things that you're most interested in? And so one of the questions that came up, or I actually went through and did a polling, and here are some of the questions that came up that were very interesting. The first one was, what investment opportunities are in the green rush? How and where do I need to invest? What segment of the industry is showing the most growth? Can you invest if where you live has not been legalized? What is needed from the community with regard to supporting the legalization in some states? And which part of the industry to get into with low capital requirements? So I'm going to address some of these questions today, but also I want you to feel free. If you have something different, you can jump in and let me know. Also, if you have a business idea and you just want to say, hey, ROZ, what do you think about this? Is this something that would fly? Or if you have something that you just want to share with the group in totality, you can do that as well. So the first question, what investment opportunities are in the green rush?
Oh, hey,
Let's
Roz,
talk about.
Roz, let me interrupt you for 1 second.
Sure.
Sorry. So yeah, so obviously we people tuning in the live stream, people who are directly in the class, if you want to ask Roz a question, please raise your hand. So you can raise your hand and we'll put you live, audio only, on air. Or if you want to type a question in the Q&A channel, that works too. So while you're listening, Roz has a few questions to start because we've been getting a lot of feedback from people. And as Q&A questions come up, you can either raise your hand live and we'll put you live, or if you type a question in the Q&A, I will run with it and ask Roz that question on that side. So with that, Roz, let me hand it back over to you. Sorry for the interruption.
Absolutely. So here we go. So Charles, do me a favor. If you see a question pop up on your side, you stop me, and then let me know what the question is, and we'll go from there. And I'll kind of keep it rolling. Deal? Sounds good. All right. Perfect. Thank you. All righty. So one thing about it is, it says what investment opportunities are in the green rush. And when you think about investment opportunities, you need to think about a couple of different things. You have the basic, like just a lot of times people just want to know about stocks and, are there going to be stocks? Can I invest, penny stocks? If I have $100, are there going to be different funds that are very specific to the cannabis industry? And that's a way to invest. Some people want to invest in regards to, I know that this person wants to go after a license. I'm not interested in having a license and doing the cultivation and the dispensary work, but I would love to put some money into their project and be able to receive some equity, meaning ownership in that project. So that's an opportunity. Another opportunity is, for example, where if there's someone that has an idea like a technology platform, and by that I mean just a technology idea for cannabis. There's some very cool things out there. There is a technology platform called Weed Maps that basically all it does is location based. It tells you exactly where the cannabis dispensary outlets are throughout the country. People pay to be on their platform, and basically you as a user, if you need the medicine and you have gone to a dispensary and that dispensary dispenses the medicine and you have a good rapport and you had a great service and it was a great price point, you can actually go and rate that dispensary. And the higher your ratings, the more likely you'll pull up when someone puts their zip code in on the Weed Maps platform. So that is nothing but a technology platform that now is worth millions and millions of dollars that was established 6 or 7 years ago. So when someone comes to you and says, hey, I got an idea, or your daughter or a young person or someone is like, I want to get into the industry and I got an idea, and they're looking for angel investors, angel investing is a great way to do it. So if you have an investment club, or if you want to start an investment club and you know friends that want to invest, start an angel investment club for cannabis, where you guys all get in and you say, listen, the minimum amount of money is, let's say, $1,000. And then you guys put your money in and you start looking at where does that $1,000, if it's 100 of you guys, that's $100,000. If it's 20, that's $20,000. Maybe people put in more, but I want to show you a little bit about where the industry is going. Watch this. All right, so look at this. Look at out first, you have nothing but slope, upward slope. So if you look at 2017, and that was just last year, again, you can look at exactly the United States in regards to, this is a forecast in regards to legal cannabis spending. And so you're looking at $8.5 billion, a total of $9.5 billion in 2017. Now, if you go up, and if you go up to 2018, we're still in 2018. So you basically grew by what, another 25%? A third. So you grew by 33% in 1 year. So if you look at when we invest our money, if you go and put a savings account, what's your interest rate for your savings account now? Maybe what, 1 to 2%, if that, 0.5%. And so even when you have mutual funds and these other different portfolio products or what have you, you're talking about if you get a return of 10 to 15%, you're doing well. But if you look at the trajectory of what's happening in the legal cannabis spending, which will indicate the economic growth of this industry, it goes up. So 2019 is predicted to be at $18.1 billion. That is almost that's almost a 45% increase. And then if you go all the way up to 2022, it's a $32 billion. Okay. So again, you got 3.1 billion for the rest of the world, 5.5 billion for Canada, and the US is leading in $23.4 billion. This is our forecast. This tells you, and this is ArcView. ArcView is a great source. If you want market research and you want more analytics, ArcView is a great website and a great a source to go to. So again, we go back to our question was, how and where do I need to invest? So let's think about this, how to start investing in cannabis stocks. I got something I want to show you. This was, I pulled this article and I thought it was so awesome, and I'm going to share the whole entire article, but I'm going to walk you through these steps. It says how to start investing in cannabis stocks, the over-the-counter issue versus just regular NASDAQ stock exchange, how to hash out the bad weed stocks, the 7 steps to retail investing, and then it goes step 1, research the company, step 2, determine the amount to invest, step 3, decide your timeline, pick a broker, buy the stock, sell the stock, and then there's a cannabis capital conference that deals with stocks. So if you hold on just 1 second, I want to show you something here. All right, so let's look at this. Boop, boop, boop. And you guys can see it. All right, so you can see benzinga.com, and this is where I pull the information from. This is a great resource. It gives you basically all those points that I pulled up. I was able to get it from here. So the first thing that was interesting was the over-the-counter issue, okay? So while there's multiple states in the US who have legalized cannabis for recreational medical uses, remember, federally, it's still illegal. So with that being said, you can't exchange stocks like you would normally on the normal US exchange. And so that's why a lot of the stocks who've gone public in the Canadian exchange is open, because Canada has legalized cannabis across the board. So the over-the-counter exchange presents challenges. So they're sometimes not taken as seriously as a bigger exchange, and also they allow for a degree of latitude in terms of quality in the company that will trade on them. So all you got to do is say, remember this: over-the-counter exchange are the penny stocks. And sometimes people tell you avoid penny stocks, that it's nothing but a hoax. But you know what? What I would do if I were you is, if you have a financial investor, or if you have someone that gives you good stock advice, or someone that's in that type of financial investment community, ask them about over-the-counter stocks. Ask them about cannabis penny stocks. Google cannabis penny stocks and look at them. You can sometimes get these stocks for 4 cents, 6 cents, 8 cents, 25 cents. However, you have to, there's a method and a madness to reading and understanding when there's a good stock to invest in and when there's not. I don't care if it's a penny stock or not. And so I don't know that per se, because this is not my area of expertise, but what I want to do is I want to really empower you to do your research on your own. Find someone that you trust that knows about buying stocks and can help you understand how to read if it's a good company or not. And then look at how much money do you want to invest? How much money are you willing to lose? So the next area says how to hash out the bad weed stocks. How do you do this? So again, you look at, so we're still faced with, how does one pick good cannabis stocks and avoid bad ones? And it's recommended that retail investors do their due diligence. Going over hundreds of filings and corporate documents can be so very time consuming. So a lot of Canadian companies, their cannabis stocks are overvalued right now, meaning the value of them, we're still in a industry that's still trying to evaluate and understand exactly the worth of the companies, and based upon their revenue, as well as based upon a lot of other different factors. And with that being said, sometimes there's over-evaluation. And so it's sometimes hard to understand if you are buying into a stock that's going to give you great potential.
Definitely. And Roz, let me just bump in real quick for people. Obviously we have people who are in the class, and then we have people who are just kind of tuning in. Let me share my screen real quick. So for people who are just tuning in, maybe haven't heard about us or haven't really been working with the Black Business School, Tonight, there is actually a web class, a broadcast of a web class featuring Dr. Boyce Watkins and Deshita Dawson that is actually going to talk about, how do you pick the right stocks? What is a good investment strategy? And Deshita actually covers 3 investment opportunities in the Green Rush that are very promising. In addition, for people who are in the class, obviously, and if you don't want to do it yourself and you want to, have a map for success, I'll just kind of preview what you get in the class, right? The class includes, it looks like there's 8 different opportunities from, the cannabis landlord to, the accessory, all these opportunities. And then it includes a masterclass by Deshita that kind of talks through how cannabis works, the industry, the science behind it, the world of hemp. And then there's a bunch of investment master classes and everything on that side to really give you the tools that you need to be successful. So just wanted to throw that out there. Obviously, the class on the right is, this is a very substantial class that, does cost some money. But the class on the left, which is free, is available tonight. And it is tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, Dr. Boyce and Deshita will spend probably an hour and a half really diving into the industry and talking about investment opportunities for everyone to get in on in this Green Rush. So just wanted to kind of just put that out there. Let's get back to your slides because you were definitely, that's great. Like, I love your system that you put together.
Absolutely. Hold on one second, guys. I see a question. Someone wants to know the website. I'm going to give it to you. Hold on one second. I'll make sure you get it. Okay, so let me go back. The website. Ooh, hold on one second, guys. Okay, so it's Benzinga. B as in boy, E-N, Z as in zebra, INGA.com. Benzinga. And so the thing about it is that the beautiful part about having Dr. Boyce and having Deshita walk you through this, before you get on that call at 9 o'clock tonight, use this time to look at like this presentation that we're going over right now, going to this website and kind of getting used to the terminology and some of the verbiage that's used in regards to investing in cannabis stocks and things of that nature, so that when they're going through this information tonight, it's not all so brand new. And you have a sense of, you have some sense of, as the conversation is flowing, some of the information that you're seeing that you've already kind of seen and been able to absorb for yourself. So the 7 steps to retail investing, and these are things that they may cover tonight, but I thought it was really critical. It was researching the company. And I'm going to show you some companies that are like some of the top ones in regards to how they're evaluated, what they're doing in regards to their earnings right now, and some ones that you might want to consider. So just hold on. Determine the amount to invest. As a rule of thumb, never invest more than you can afford to lose. So for all you guys who go to Vegas, I love Vegas. You know what? But when I go to Vegas, I go with a mind that I'm willing to lose $100. And once I lose that $100, I'm done. So it's the same type of philosophy when it comes to investing, especially investing in a new volatile industry that still is trying to find its way. So again, determine the amount you're willing to, that you can afford to lose. Decide on your timeline. Deciding on when to buy and when to sell is crucial, and try to figure out what thresholds are beforehand. So,
now, hey, Roz, let me just hop in on that in terms of don't invest more than you can lose, and how, I think it's something that everyone says, but a lot of people don't fully understand why, why do the best investors say that, right? Because what a lot of people think is, well, I don't make enough money. I only have $100 to put in, or I only have $1,000 to put in, over the next year. I'm never going to get rich doing this, so why even bother? And first thing, let me step back and say, even if it's $50 a month or $100 a month or, $10 a month, the way investing works is it's a long game, right? We're not going to try to run a marathon in a day. We're not even going to try to run a marathon before we start training, right? You have to run a mile before you can run 20 miles or, depending on however long you go. And what's very important is the reason why we want to invest in a manner where we're willing to lose it all isn't because we want to lose the money. when you invest, you're here to make money. Let's be honest. However, the number one thing that kills people on the investment side is investment psychology. And people don't fully grasp. It's so easy as a consumer or as a first-time investor to just look at this little picture. You know, we get so caught up in the little things. Like the stock goes down, oh my gosh, I'm down 10%, I'm down 20%, I'm down 80%. And give me 1 second to just pull this up. I think it's always good for everyone to see this. And I'm going to show you this slide. So give me a second. You actually made me think, and I thought this was a good thing. This is actually one of the classes. This is from one of the classes that we teach on this side. But this is actually, you know, the concept is why most people are never going to get rich investing. And, you know, it sounds kind of rude to say up front, but it's important to to know and understand that, because it really hits this theory of, you know, don't invest more than you can lose. And the minute I need to look for something, I can't find, you know, what I'm looking at, because that's always my luck. Give me 1 second when I pull this up. So let me show you guys this. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen again, and this is the classic example I like to give. So why do we say don't invest more than you can lose? Well, let's look at this. And Roz, I'd love to get your opinion. Can you see my screen okay?
I can see it great.
So here is a company here. It has plunged 82%. So, you know, you can't see the small numbers, but, you know, this was back in 2000. The company had a share price of $5. And over the span of 2 years, the company went from $5 down into, I think, July of, or 2003, it hit a low of like 91 cents. I'm going to move this arrow right there. And then if you read all the news, looked at the industry, everyone said this company was dead, this company was dead, oh, it's time to get out, and everything on that. Now, the question I want to ask, and this is for everyone who's, you know, in the call or people who are in the live, how many of you would have looked at this and cut your losses and run? And this is the key to don't invest what you lose, because the reality is if you had cut your losses after this time, this was a company by the name of Apple. You've heard of Apple, right, Roz?
Right, I have.
And if you know, so Apple, as great of a company Apple was from 2000 to 2000, let me see. Yeah, let me just remove this so you can kind of see it. From 2000 to 2003, Apple fell 82% of its value on its way of becoming, you know, literally a $1 trillion company. So, you know, fast forward to whatever, right? You know, if you had put $1,000 in Apple, or even if you had bought at this little peak, and that's the thing, right? We get so caught up, you know, we get tunnel vision. We look at this right here. Let me just kind of move these around because these are just sample slides. We get so caught up here, we think the world's going to end. But when you step back and look at the big picture, that's a little blip right here. And even if you feel, you know, oh, I got, you know, we're all looking like, can we get the best deal? Are we going to get in at the right time? And, you know, the thing is, none of us have a crystal ball and we can't predict the future, but we can predict the good companies, right? So you look at that 82% drop, it's still nothing. And had you still even, like, if you bought at this peak at $5 a share, and you still held on to Apple at over, what, $215 a share or whatever the heck it is now, you'd be doing pretty darn good.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the point is that the reason why Apple has grown like they've had, you know, they have over the years, it started out with innovation, and sometimes you have a slump in innovation, but they still stayed steady and stayed focused on innovation and creating an experience and creating something that was different. And so those are type of things. If you can look at companies right now that have been very successful, the Microsofts, the Apples of the world, those technology companies, and look at what they did in order to be so successful and to have valuations that are $1 trillion and above. And that's what type of companies that you need to look for in cannabis, the innovative companies, the ones that are doing different things, different trials. if a trial doesn't work, it's okay, because the good thing about it is they have enough guts to do the trial and to think outside of the box. So you don't want to put, I should say this, I wouldn't want to put my resources or put money and invest in a company that's just going to be kind of, play it safe. I don't want you to go out there and just do something just crazy, but I don't mind if you push the button and be innovative and get creative and think ahead of the curve. And so you have to understand, think about the things that matter the most to you. Think about the different stock companies that are just normal stocks and how they've been successful. And then once you do that, in my opinion, it'll help you as you are researching cannabis stocks. And if you see something that resonates, and you may not know all of the parts of it, but you like the vision and where they're going, and you start researching, that could be a stock for you to put some money into. And it is a long game. It's not a short game. It's not a like when you do go to a casino and you're like, hey, I got this and I won and I'm great and I doubled my money. It's not like that. It is about putting, investing and letting it sit and saying goodbye and watching it grow over a course of time.
Exactly. And that's why we say, right, don't put more than you can lose, because if I had my rent money or my mortgage money and it went down 82%, I'm freaking out, right?
Right.
What you can see here is you don't need huge amounts of money. This is literally $1,000 put into Apple is worth $185,000. And, $1,000 definitely isn't a big thing, but I mean, we're talking, if it's just $50 a month or whatever it is, and you put a little bit in this cannabis company, a little bit in that cannabis company, and then you forget about it, or, it's money that it's okay losing because you'd maybe spend that money on clothes or, going out to eat or whatnot. Give it 5 years, give it some time, a couple bucks there will be worth, tens of thousands of dollars or even more if that happens. And that is, the key to investing, the key to building this generational wealth is being able to play the game and put dollars in. And, that's how the most successful investors, that's how the most successful and wealthy people become good investors. Now, let's get back to you. I'm, again, sorry to keep interrupting.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Questions are piling up, so I will get to the questions. But why don't you just continue with your checklist, because I think it offers a lot of valuable information. And then we'll jump over to questions.
Yeah, let's do that. So let me wrap up. So again, it's the Benzinga.com. It's knowing when to buy the stock, knowing when to sell the stock. And Benzinga has a great cannabis conference that just happened in Toronto, but it will be going on again next year. And I think that if you're serious about this industry, I think sometimes we talk about it and we're like, oh yeah, I want to get in cannabis, and oh yeah, but you know what? You have to be intentional. Okay, so I'll say it again. You have to be intentional. So you have to. One thing I do recommend you do, if you have Google or Gmail account, go to Google or Google how to set up Google Alert. And then what you want to do is you want to set up Google Alerts that will tell you, and then you can put in keywords. So you can put in cannabis stock investment. And what will happen is anytime there's any type of news article about maybe a new stock or about, someone going public. So you want to put in like IPO, put in OTC, which is over the counter. So use some of these buzzwords that are associated with the stock market, and make sure you have cannabis in there. And what will end up happening is that you will get like little pings and emails with updates. You have to stay intentional, stay connected to the industry, do a little bit of research. That way, when you have someone that's going to help you figure out exactly where you want to, how to invest or where you want to start, you will have some type of knowledge and some information that you have on your own. Okay. So let me get back to, here we go. All right, so let me go back here. So let's go up a little bit. So this one says, I got my so this one says, sorry, the uncertainty. So I can't, where are the marijuana stocks listed? Canada versus US. So the uncertainty in the regulatory framework has not only impacted businesses, but operations for companies in the sector. So a lot of where you want to, so So in some cases, American companies have gone north in search of more welcoming environment for their stock market debut. For example, MedMen is California-based, but they are trading on the Canadian stock market. The next one is over-the-counter markets versus the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. So this tells you a little bit about the difference between the two and why you have to trade on the over-the-counter market versus the New York Stock Exchange. And then, of course, the types of marijuana stocks, and this is what we're going to get into next. This is some stocks that I was able to pull up, and these are the ones that are the top ones that are growing right now and are well capitalized in regards to revenue. So plant touching cultivation operations. This means they're either cultivating, manufacturing, processing. They're doing something of that nature. The first one is Canopy Growth Corporation. The second one is Aurora Cannabis. The third is Kronos Group, and the fourth is TerraTech. I want to show you exactly what that means from a So here, let's look at this. So this one is called Investopedia.com. Investo, INVESTOPEDIA.com. And then just put in top marijuana stocks when you go into your search. So what I was able to pull up with the plant touching cultivation operations. And the first Canadian marijuana unicorn was Canopy Growth. And the company owns and operates many brands producing and marketing both medical and recreational strains. Tweed is one of the company's most popular brands. So again, if there's a brand of cannabis that you've known or you've seen out there and you want to go and see who owns that, which company owns that brand, that's a great way. Just like Nike, well, or Air Jordan is owned by Nike. And if you utilize a certain brand, find out who owns it. And so this particular company, Canopy Growth, is about to actually look at doing cannabis infused beverages. So this, again, if you look at their market cap was $5.98 billion. The market cap currently was $6.29 billion. Aurora Cannabis is out of Canada. It's another huge Canadian company. Their rival is Med Relief. And again, their focus is on cultivation and producing cannabis throughout Canada. And so as you can see, their market cap is $4.08 billion. And then we come down to Kronos Group. And then we have TerraTech. TerraTech is different because they are dealing with hydroponic equipment. And so they create the equipment, the lighting, things of that nature. That's where their sweet spot is. And so again, this is a company that is currently market cap at $157 million. So
now, yeah, Roz, definitely. That's a lot of great information. One thing I want to bring up, these are all, there's different, call it levels of investing, right?
Yep.
So the, companies that you've put out there, well, they're all, good companies. I would call that like the level one type investor, right? That's where everyone goes to start.
Right.
And if you really, for people that tune in on the web class, we're finding the picks and shovels route is a more interesting and a higher return world than these, because the thing is, everybody knows of Canopy Growth, right? Constellation Brands just upped their ante and put, another $4 billion into them. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. And, that's great and everything. But the challenge with the plant touching stocks right now is that the valuations are crazy. I mean, if you look at, let's go back to Constellation Brands. I mean, you're talking a $4 to $5 billion valuation on $70 or $80 million in sales.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
That is not even that is insane. I mean, that makes internet stocks in 1999, back when, that makes pets.com look like a good deal, because there's just so much hype that's built in the market. And obviously, we're not here to provide professional investment advice because, this is education. And we're just not allowed to on that front. But there is something about, where do the best investors go is you want to, there was a thing I heard. It's like there's two ways to get beachfront property in Malibu. Way number one is by, if you are completely rich beyond belief and you can drop $30 million on a house, okay, you can get beachfront property in Malibu. That's way number one. Now, for most normal people, a lot of us don't have, the ability to play with the big dogs like Constellation Brands, right? Who's putting $4 billion into canopy growth. So the second way to get beachfront property in Malibu is to find Malibu before it's Malibu, right? So we want to find that next company that isn't at that $4 billion valuation, that maybe only at the $100 or $200 million valuation, and catch the trend before it happens, right? That's the big thing. If you had known that the trend for Apple would be where it's at, right? Yeah, right now you can invest in Apple at $200 a share. And I'm not saying Apple's a bad company. It's probably a good company. But if you could have gotten to Apple back when it was 90 cents a share and everyone said Apple was dead and no one cared about Apple and it was going, that's where, the big money is made. I think let's get into some questions. We've actually, the information you've given has been incredible. And I know you and I will keep talking about this till the cows come home and we can have a blast. But we've had questions piling up, and this is CannaTalk with ROZ, so we want to answer those questions. So let's go to questions. So first, I have Sabby Montoya. Sabby has a question. She is in New York State, and she wants to get into the cannabis business, particularly growing.
Okay.
I have no agricultural background. Also, I do not have a diagnosis. Maybe it's a prescription. I'm not sure exactly. In the state. I am a vet. I don't know where to start.
Okay.
Can you help me, Roz?
Yes, I can. So the fact that you are a vet is a beautiful thing. And there's a lot of veterans focused organizations that are in the cannabis industry in New York. There's a young lady, her name is Sarah Stenoff, Stenouf, and she's awesome. She's a veteran. She's a big supporter and advocate for cannabis legalization. She's someone that's very well versed. I think that you have to go where you're heard or where your comrades are. So if you're a veteran, then go find those organizations that are a Weed for Warriors. Mission Zero is one of our board members. His name is Jose Bellin. He was a gentleman that actually sued Jeff Sessions. He was on the lawsuit suing the government. And so Jose has a nonprofit organization called Mission Zero. And it's really focused on assisting veterans from a medical standpoint, as well as assisting them from a business standpoint in navigating through the cannabis industry. So just like how I started Minorities for Medical Marijuana, wanting to really tap into communities of color and give them resources and support, that's what they do. So Sarah Stenoff, if you Google her, you'll find her. She's in New York. There's several different New York organizations focused around cannabis that are veteran-centric. And if you're wanting to cultivate and grow, then you find people that are in that circle who would take you on and basically give you an opportunity to do some, I want to say, internship or workmanship or a apprenticeship program where you can actually go and shadow a master grower to understand the nuances of growing and cultivating different strains and understanding about clones and what does that mean and how do you clone. And I don't know this, but that's not my area of expertise and not my passion. But if I wanted to, I would go find someone that you can go shadow, that you can go get a, be able to do an apprenticeship with, and then go from there.
Wow. Okay, now we have Dawn from Maryland. Dawn is saying, hey, Roz, love your comment. Love you.
Thank you, Dawn.
I think you're great. Can you comment on the legalization of industrial hemp? Do you think this is more stable versus cannabis?
So say that last part again.
Do you think hemp is more stable, a more stable investment to get into instead of cannabis?
I think hemp as a long game is more stable. That's me personally, only because hemp has there's two different opportunities to realize the potential that hemp can provide for this country. You have it on the medical side where you create a CBD oil that's hemp based that doesn't have the THC in there, and it can be utilized for medical efficacy. But also hemp provides over 25,000 different industrial uses that you can utilize. You can use hemp in concrete to make hempcrete. And that's basically where you take the hemp and the stalk of it, you macerate it. It goes into you cultivate it into these big bales of hay. It looks like hay, and you put it into a machine, and it basically breaks it down into sawdust. And if you can imagine, that sawdust is then kind of processed with concrete to make hempcrete. And I believe because of the different natural benefits of hemp is an antibacterial. Hemp provides you the tensile strength. It's so much stronger than rope and some of the plastics out there, that I believe there's so many different ways. If you look at, there was a special that talked about the Koch brothers, and the Koch brothers is is Koch. The Koch brothers are big time Republican supporters. They put a lot of money into the Republican Party. But you know what? They make money. Their businesses, they have 8 to 10 different subsidiary businesses that do everyday living type of things, like fertilizer and like plastics and things of that nature. And so I think that with the production of hemp, and because of various uses, that you're going to see a more vibrant and robust industry once hemp is legalized federally. To answer your question about hemp legalization, currently right now, there's a bill that passed through the Senate, and it passed, and it's now on the House side. I don't think it's been heard yet, but basically it was legalizing hemp production in the United States, so that you wouldn't have a federal, it would basically lift federal prohibition for hemp growing. So if that passes, then what happens is that we don't have to now wait for each state to pass a hemp law for us to grow hemp. Now you would be able to, under the guise of your state, be able to apply for a hemp license. And if you own land, if you have property, if you are a farmer, if you're a cultivator, and you want to grow hemp for the use of medical or for industrial, you would be able to do that. And so that's my hope, that it will be lifted on the federal side. Right now, state by state, different states have different hemp laws, and some of them are very, very tight, and you don't have a lot of opportunity as a everyday person to get a license. And there's some states that are really opening it up and allowing you to get a license, to apply for it, like $50. In South Carolina, the application fee to get a hemp license was $50. So these are the type of things, as an organization, M for MM. We have Dr. Jackson Garth. He's our VP of Hemp Technology. He works with farmers and cultivators who want to get into hemp.
Wow. Well, I've got another question. I have Ramona Smith Miller.
Okay. Hi, Ramona.
Smith Miller has a gourmet spread sauce.
Okay.
A seasoned butter called Grips Gourmet. She says, I would like to link up with someone from the cannabis industry who could get some CBD oil suppliers or a chemist to put it in my seasoned butter that is already on the market. Help. Wow,
right.
That sounds pretty cool. I mean, right.
I like it. I like these business questions. This is very smart. It's very creative. If you have a product and you're trying to figure out, how do I infuse CBD into my product and then package this as a CBD-based product, then you need to find a CBD processor, someone who's making, who's processing CBD right now. And from there, you can find out from them what food companies or edible companies are buying from them. So for example, the biggest areas that are processing hemp right now are in Denver, or in Colorado, in Oregon, and North Carolina, and Kentucky. Okay, so it's Colorado, Kentucky, Oregon, North Carolina. Start there, and all you want to do is you want to find hemp processor or hemp grower, hemp cultivators, and actually they're all licensed with each state. So you can basically go find out, it's open source information, get the information of who's, who is, has a license to grow hemp and process in that state. You give them a call and you say, hey, listen, I have this concept. I have this food product. I want to pair it with CBD. Do you have any companies that you're working with right now that's buying CBD oil from you as a food additive that you can share their information, that I can call and see if we can partner and do a deal together? And they would love to give it to you, because if you do that and your product starts getting some traction and gets popular, guess what? that means they got to buy more CBD, and they got to buy it from that manufacturer. So they want you to be successful. And that's the way of being creative and getting out there. So, and what you want to do is once you do that, and if you do find a company and they're willing to take a meeting and to talk with you, that's when you want to be able to make sure that you have your thoughts and whatever you have, you get an NDA signed. So you have a non-disclosure agreement. Make sure that you have your company set up. So you have some type of LLC. You want to come correct. You want to come with you want to make sure that folks understand that you're very serious about your business and that you have all of your ideas and concepts packaged under the roof of a business. So it could be, ROZ McCarthy Hemp LLC, whatever you want to call your company. Just make sure you formalize your company. Have it, have your ducks in a row. You don't have to be perfect in this manner, but make sure that you, when someone wants to do business with you, they see that you're very serious. But I definitely think you have a great idea. And if there's anything more that I can do to help you from a sidebar, we're going to be able to have my information handy so that you can reach out to me.
Wow. No, that's great. Well, we'll keep rolling on the questions. And for people who are actually in the class, if you want to ask a question to ROZ live, just raise your hand and you can interact with ROZ live while we're on this, while we're in the class. Let me jump over. I've got Michael from Alabama.
Hi, Michael.
From Alabama. Okay. He is saying, I'm in Alabama. I see everyone else is making money, but I don't know how to profit because Alabama is not legal yet. Yeah. What can I do, and how can you please educate me on this?
It's a challenge, Michael, especially if you have a state. And this was one of the questions that came up. A lot of people that come on board to the Black Cannabis Network, they're asking, how do I start in this industry if my state is not legal? It's so tough. And I'm sorry I can't give you a better answer, but right now, all I can do is tell you to prepare. Get yourself prepared. If I ask you today, Michael, what do you want to do in the industry? You need to have an answer for me. If I say tomorrow, Michael, hemp is going to be legalized, what do you want to do? You need to have an answer, because just as sure as this federal, like I said, they're reviewing that state, the House and Congress, they're reviewing that bill. If that bill were to pass, in 3 weeks from now, and they say, hey, hemp cultivation is legal in all 50 states. Are you ready? Are you prepared? Do you know what you want to do? Do you own land? Do you want to cultivate? Do you want to process? Do you want to have a CBD? Do you want to carry CBD for patients? What exactly do you want to do? And that's why on this call, you guys got to come back. But we got to talk about, you got to throw out ideas. You got to think about the things that you want to do, throw it out there and say, does this make sense? But you're going to have to prepare yourself and start thinking about, if it were legal right now, what do I want to do in this space? Because legalization is happening pretty quickly, but like states like Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana's medical marijuana program is legal right now, but there's some states right now that they're still a little bit slow. They're still behind the curve, but that doesn't mean that you can't be prepared and get yourself thinking about, where's my fit in this space and what do I need to do to make myself prepared so that when things open up, I'm ready to do business, or I'm ready to start talking to people. And what you want to do is you want to be an influencer in the industry. And the way that you can be an influencer in the industry in your state is that you could be talking to community stakeholders, the mayor, city councilman. Ask your city councilman, hey, how do you feel about cannabis legalization and hemp legalization? And if they ask you, why you ask, and say, hey, because more than likely I'm interested in getting into the business. Be an influencer. Influence people's decision. Influence what's going on in your community. Because when you do that, they're going to come to you. They're going to say, hey, Michael, hey, I know this is your thing. What should we do here? And that's going to be when you can start making decisions and making moves. It's all about making moves, and just be prepared.
Wow. Well, that's great. And now we've got, more questions are flowing in. I've got Julius from Oklahoma.
Hey, Julius. Oklahoma's open. Applications are open right now. It's great, good stuff going on. What you got there, Charles?
He's saying, he says, I'm basically in the same boat here in Oklahoma, but we're a little bit ahead because medical cannabis was just passed.
It did.
Only find limited information on how to proceed. Seems like the establishment here is being very mum. I would like to gain a grower's license so I could supply dispensaries. Where do I begin? I have started a business plan, but am having a difficult time figuring profit, as well as as well as a market fit, because medicinal cannabis is so new in Oklahoma. Can you help me, Roz?
Yes. So to answer your question, Oklahoma right now, the Oklahoma's market to get a license is open right now. And it opened last Saturday on the 25th of August. There's not a deadline as of yet. I recommend anyone that's in Oklahoma, and if you are interested, I am working with a couple of groups in Oklahoma personally, because Oklahoma, the entryway to get a license is not hard. There's not a lot of barriers. It's not very expensive, and you can stack your licenses. And what I mean by that is that if you just want to cultivate, you can apply to be a cultivator, and that's it. But if you want to cultivate and you want to manufacture and you want to have a dispensary, you can apply for all 3 licenses, which is a beautiful thing. Because all you need to do is, you got to think of yourself as a project manager. So this is your business and you're the project manager of your business. That means that you don't have to know every single part about what you're doing. You just have to hire, and you have to bring people that understand those different areas of your business, who are going to make sure it runs efficiently and effectively for you. So for you, my friend, if you want to cultivate, right now is the time to pull up the application. And the application is only 4 to 5 pages. And so for those people that have questions and you need some help navigating through that, you can email me at ROZ, ROZ, M4MMunited.org. That's ROZ, R-O-Z, at M4MMunited.org. And especially in Oklahoma, in Oklahoma, there's a requirement that you have to, as a Oklahoma resident, be on that application, and you have to own about 75% of that business, which means that you can go and find an investor who will invest into your business, give them 25% ownership, you own 75%. You can hire the people who know how to cultivate, who know how to process, who can help you build out your dispensary and get your business going. And so I want to encourage you, everything that you need to know is open source information. I know I always talk about just Google it, but I swear to you, Google is my best friend. That's all I do. When I have a question, I just Google whatever's in my mind, whatever the question is, I just Google it, and then I go, and from there I start researching and figuring my way through it. And then I'm like, oh, that's what's going on. So please, if you're in Oklahoma, if you're listening right now, there's tremendous opportunity. Try to get it done now. If you try and you don't get the license, it's okay. Try again the next round, but the round is open right now for those people that are in Oklahoma.
Wow. Okay, let's go on to our next question. Let's see. Okay. This is Kiani. Hello, Roz.
Hi, Kiani.
I live in Atlanta and am searching for a way to break into being an entrepreneur. As a certified oncology nurse, I am interested in bringing cannabis to patients who need it. Georgia has approved low doses of THC oil for approved patients, but has not provided a means for them to obtain it legally. Let's see. I have a lack of information on how to make this happen. 2, I specifically need information on how to create a compassionate use program for the state of Georgia. And then I would love to figure out how to get this issue in front of Georgia senators so that I may petition to be granted a license to dispense. Wow, that's quite the question, but
I love it. I love it. First and foremost, you got to be a part of our organization, M4MM. This is what we do. We have 20 chapters throughout the country. Nicole Befong is my Georgia chapter president, and she is freaking awesome. She is actually, she's a part of the Black Business School and about the Green Rush team and interviewing different folks that are in the industry. She's a wealth of knowledge. But what we'll be doing, I'll start your last question or your last comment. It's critical is so critical. Everyone that's listening to me, it's critical that we look at this from a public policy standpoint. If you want to do something in the industry, you have to understand legislators are the ones that write the policy to tell the state what to do. And a lot of times the legislators have no idea about the different ideas that you guys have, about the different concepts that you have. So the beautiful thing about what you as an oncology nurse, I spent 8 years in hospice. I was a regional director of business development in hospice. And so working with cancer patients and understanding death and dying and grief and all that whole entire process, the reason why I started M4MM was because I lost a mom to breast cancer. There is a direct benefit of using cannabis in different forms in order to reduce the severity of nausea and and of sickness and lack of energy when these individuals are on chemo and radiation. And so a compassionate care program that's very specific to cancer patients and more specific to hospice patients is so ideal. And what you would want to do is you want to be able to go to your legislators. So start first. I'm so excited. So I'm so sorry, but I get excited about this because the first thing you do is you start in your community. Whoever is your representative for your community in Georgia, wherever you live, if it's in Atlanta, put in your zip code and find out who is your legislator. That's the person who is in the Georgia government, either your senator or your House rep. And then you send them an email and you say, listen, I understand that, Georgia has a low dosage program, but when do you think you'll have a full medical marijuana program? I'm an oncology nurse. I want to be able to support having an establishment that helps patients who can't help themselves with getting their medicine. You start that conversation. You start emailing these folks and you let them know that you want to understand where they are right now, because Georgia really has to do better. The current law the current law is very limiting, and it doesn't give you the full range of products offerings for patients. And on top of that, you can't cultivate in Georgia. So if you can't cultivate in Georgia, but you can take a low dosage THC, how are you supposed to get it if you can't cross state lines? Because you'll go to jail for that. So there's a lot of yucky stuff that's going on. But Nicole and our team, and there's also Coach Harris with the Green Team. There's some strong people in Georgia that are really doing some fantastic things from the ground. I tell you, in regards to entrepreneurship, for everyone that's out here, breathe life into your business. Create your business. Go spend $125 and get your business registered with your state. Go buy your domain name. Go create a quick little GoDaddy, Wix, some type of website template or what have you. And then, so don't just have your business in your mind, put it on paper, breathe life into it. Claim what you want to do, put it out there. So that way, as you're starting to go through and figure out what you're going through the process, same thing for Alabama. If you know you want to do this, you got to start now. Even when the opportunity doesn't give you the full breadth of being able to do what you want to do, now's the time to kind of breathe life into it, start establishing yourself, coming up with a great name. Branding is so important. So think about, okay, if this were to get totally successful, what name do I want for what I'm doing in order for it to catch on, to have some type of branding and some type of some pizzazz or something that grabs people's attention. So these are the type of things that you want to think about. I definitely encourage you guys, again, email me, ROZ at m4mmunited.org. I can put you in contact with Nicole. We don't have a chapter president in Alabama yet. If you go to our website does have all of our chapter locations. I can get you in contact with our chapter presidents, but that's our goal, is to help you guys navigate through all the stuff that's going on.
Wow. Well, the questions are still rolling in, but we are now 10 minutes over. So I would say everyone who's tuning in, come back next week. Let's thank ROZ. Let's, if you're in the Zoom in the chat, let's give a big thank you.
Thank you, guys.
To ROZ. If you're on Facebook, please share, give us the hearts, give us the likes on this. We will be back next week, right? Next Friday.
And if you could do me a favor, if you have a question and your question wasn't able to get addressed, put it in the comment section under the live feed. Share it share this, like this. It's on our page as well, Minorities for Medical Marijuana as well. You can like it over there, like in the Black Business, Black Cannabis Network is right there. And in that way, next week, come back and hopefully if I see your question, I'll be able to have an answer ready for you guys. I appreciate you. I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you for the support. Please know that you're not out here by yourself. There's people out here that really want us to be successful, that really want to see some things happen for our community, that we get a chance to participate in this big booming industry. So I thank you so much, Charles, for supporting me, and I'll see you guys next week.
Alrighty. Thanks a lot, Roz, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Talk to you guys later.
Bye. God bless Aretha.